I want to go to Ryan Nobles, who's standing by right now. We've got him live from Iowa this morning. Ryan Nobles, good morning.
Hey, Bill. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. So have we found out the real definition of the few people who know this? I was thinking maybe it's you. Covfefe or Covfefe. Do you know the real definition? Any idea?
I'll tell you, the real definition is it has become the single most annoying thing that's ever happened in politics. I'm so sick of it already.
I know.
And it's only been about 24 hours.
Well,
just crazy. I just can't believe how much it's taken off and how people just can't stop talking about it.
Twitter, if you follow Twitter, it is like one of the biggest words to ever, the most a word has ever been used on Twitter. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton was joking about it yesterday. You had Republican senators joking about it. I mean, I actually kind of think it's interesting. It's kind of a test case example of how the president really understands how the media works and how people think that, and they're critical of him, thinking that he does a lot of these things half-cocked without much thought process put behind them. But, he messed up. He obviously had a moment. A typo.
Yeah.
He fell asleep. He woke up the next morning and he thought, I'll make a joke out of this. And, all day yesterday, people were talking about that instead of talking about some of the other big issues he has, like, for instance, pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, which is probably going to happen sometime today. So, it was in reality a win for him at the end of the day.
How about this pulling out of this agreement? We would become one of only, I think, 3 nations worldwide that are not involved, Western nations. We certainly are the largest. Not involved. Even China's in on it. And I know there's a lot of talk about cheating and you can't trust this country and you can't trust that one. But even people that are conservative and inside the White House now, on Trump's team, are against pulling out of this thing right now.
Yeah. The thing about this Paris Climate Accord is I think that this was an example of Donald Trump making good on a campaign promise to that kind of narrow group of people that elected him. And I don't necessarily think that it falls in line with his campaign rhetoric, right? So his campaign rhetoric was, I'm going to make better deals. So the current deals that we're in, we're getting screwed on, but I'm going to get into office, and because I have this history and this experience as a deal maker, I'm going to make a better deal. Well, at least the way it looks right now, that is not what's happening. He's just picking up his marbles and walking away from the table. He had this opportunity when he was abroad to talk to these foreign leaders and establish new parameters for the deal or to come up with some sort of safeguard for the United States. I know they're concerned that, if the United States dramatically pulls back on coal, that's not going to stop other nations like China from building coal plants. And as you pointed out, Bill, they don't necessarily trust some of the countries that are involved in it. But, if that was the case, then a victory for the president would have been, okay, we're going to stay in this because we recognize that climate change is a problem,
right?
But I've made it a better deal for us in terms of saving and protecting jobs. That's not what's happened yet. I mean, we don't know exactly how he's going to announce it. There's some talk that it might not just be a full withdrawal, but gradually, or there's going to pull out of certain parts of it. But right now, we don't see him making a deal here, right? Where is this? I
make a better deal. Yeah. Now they have stressed that although Spicer, I interestingly in the press conference yesterday, they wouldn't allow cameras in there. That was talk about that. Can you talk about that? What was the reason for that?
Well, so there's this talk that the president wants to shake up his communication strategy, and he feels like he's not getting a fair shake from the media, so they're going to try and do all these different things to try and bob and weave around some of the big problems that they're facing. So one of the things they're going to do is not have Sean Spicer on camera that much. They don't want him out there facing a firing squad every day. So what they did yesterday was, instead of having the regular traditional White House press briefing where the press secretary comes out and answers questions for half an hour or 45 minutes, they brought out the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, David Shulkin, who came out and did, nobody knows this, but he did like an hour-long on-camera briefing. And they told the press that this was the on-camera briefing today, and that Sean Spicer would come out and do an off-camera gaggle, is how they called it. Well, the VA secretary can't answer any of the pressing questions that the administration still refuses to answer.
And there's a lot going on right now, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when Spicer came out, I mean, I think the White House's strategy was, well, we're going to offer up one administration official per day, and it'll be on the specific topic that we want to talk about. And that will the press will just ignore the other stuff because this is the only person we provided them on camera. Well, I think they found out that media outlets aren't going to go by that because all three, Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, just put up Sean Spicer, even though he wasn't on camera. They just put the audio up as it was happening. So it's a strategy that's not going to work.
The media is just like high school graduates. So if you tell them they can't write something on their cap,
they're going to put something on that cap.
And that's exactly what's going on here, right? That's exactly
that's 100% right.
Yeah.
Right. And there was definitely some internal discussions by members of the media as to whether or not they were going to abide by this idea, because initially Spicer said you couldn't run it until after it was concluded. And I think that, as a collective group, the media just decided we're going to put this out there because, the American people deserve to hear what he has to say. And what's the difference if they hear it live or hear it 10 minutes after it's done?
All right. Why are you in Iowa, by the way? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so I'm in Des Moines this morning. I'm going to be here for the next 4 days. So this weekend, Joni Ernst, who's a senator here, is having her big annual Roast and Ride, which is a big Iowa political event. And, Iowa is always one of the most important states when it comes to presidential elections. The vice president's going to be here on Saturday as well. And the president was supposed to be here today. If you remember, he had a rally scheduled here in Iowa that they have now postponed to the end of the month. But we're just here to kind of get the flavor of where the heads of Iowans are right now. Yeah. And, to already start thinking about 2020. I know maybe people are nervous about that, but
hard to believe.
It's never too early to start thinking about the next presidential election. And if you want to start getting the pulse of where the next vote's going to go, this is the place to be, is Iowa. So that's what we're going to do here for the next couple of days.
We'll be watching Ryan on CNN, Ryan Nobles, Washington Correspondent. Thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Right.